Well, it's almost Halloween. Time to catch up on some spooky video games. Let's see what's on Game Pass. Blair Witch? Like that movie from the 90s? Huh. This could make an interesting video, but I'm not going to do that cliche thing where it's found footage in the forest. That's just a cop-out.
Well, PG&E shut my power off, so I figured the next logical course of action would be to film out here in the woods where only 5 people have gone missing. There's no better light than sunlight, right? Have you ever heard the legend of the Blair Witch? If not, that's fine, because it's not a real legend. People in 1999 thought it was, though, with the release of the Blair Witch Project. This film is single-handedly responsible for popularizing the found footage style of filmmaking, costing only $60,000 to make with box office earnings of $248 million. A big part of why it was so successful is because people thought it was real, all thanks to its viral marketing campaign. Back then, the internet was a much newer thing, and it never crossed anyone's mind that people could just go on it and tell lies. I wouldn't be surprised if more of the film's budget went into the website than the actual film. This has everything from the mythology of the Blair Witch, interviews with the parents of the lost filmmakers, and conveniently, a journal of one of the characters. I don't know about you, but when I'm lost in the woods for days, I definitely take some time to write in my journal. The Blair Witch Project was a hit, and naturally, the producers wanted to expand upon this hit by releasing a sequel 1 year later that completely missed the point of the first movie, and another sequel 16 years later that also completely missed the point of the first movie. But at least it was found footage. Gotta stick to your roots. Lionsgate Games announced the Blair Witch game at E3 2019, to which everyone responded, Now there isn't anything wrong with the Blair Witch game, it's just, why now? It's not like there's another movie coming out, and the last one came out 3 years ago and wasn't very good, so really what's the point? This was also developed by Bloober Team, known for games like Layers of Fear 1 and 2 and Observer. I've only played the first Layers of Fear, and I wasn't too big a fan of it. I thought it relied way too heavily on cheap jump scares, though the environments changing around you were pretty cool. But my biggest question about the Blair Witch game is, how do you even make a Blair Witch game? The movies don't even show the witch, or any monster for that matter. It was all about the witch toying with these people, driving them to insanity. And I don't know what the last movie was about, but I guess there was a monster or two in it, I don't know. Fair warning, I am going to dive into some spoiler territory for both the first movie and the game. More so the movie, less so the game. Should you really be concerned about spoilers for the game, though? Not really. So the Blair Witch game is set in 1996. 2 years after the events of the first movie, and you play as an ex-cop named Ellis on the search for a young boy named Peter who got lost in the Black Hills forest of Burkittsville, Maryland, the same forest where the Blair Witch supposedly lives. I know that the witch is like a legend in these parts, but you would think that after all these people went missing, the townsfolk would have been like, maybe the witch is real. Over the course of the game, we figure out that Ellis is an ex-cop for a reason, and he has a very dark past. You'll figure this out because the game will never stop reminding you that he has a very dark past. Ellis has a doggo companion named Bullet who will help him on his search. He'll do this by sniffing out clues, leading you towards the next objective. He'll help you out more depending on how well you treat him, and you better treat him right because dogs deserve all the love in the world and you're a monster if you disagree. How dare this game even give us the option to scold him? The audacity! The beginning of this game is pretty mellow. You're just taking a few calls and looking around the forest for any slight clue of the missing kid. It doesn't take long for things to get weird as you find a white tree in the forest. Nothing strange here, except the black, pulsating veins connected to the tree. Don't worry, it gets weirder. You ever been attacked by a large clump of leaves? Maybe in Florida. I'll say this. Bloober Team really nailed the atmosphere of this game. The music is chilling, and the environment is dark and hopeless. You do have a flashlight to help you navigate, but you also have a camcorder with night vision. Because, you know, Blair Witch. The camcorder is essential in your playthrough, but it's more than just night vision. It also is a puzzle-solving device, as red tapes you find will alter the world around you. It's pretty cool, but you don't see many of these puzzles throughout the game. There is one puzzle that asks you to switch out certain fuses, which I guess was kind of interesting. Other than these, Blair Witch largely feels like a walking simulator of sorts. Not that walking simulators are automatically bad, it's just that I was expecting more horror with this horror game. Which brings me back to my earlier question. How do you even make a game based on Blair Witch? What threat does the Blair Witch have to offer that isn't just making you walk around in circles and go insane? Well, for one, there are monsters that are afraid of flashlights. Yeah, I don't know what these things are, and I don't think the game even knows what they are. I think they're meant to scare and kill you, but all they really do is just annoy and kill you. Not that they're much of a threat, seeing as shining your light at them for a few seconds drives them away. Wow, Alan Wake much? There's also this weird Viking-looking dude that shows up near the end, and you have to avoid him by simply not looking at him. This is the most Blair Witch has to offer in terms of scares. While the atmosphere itself is eerie, the game doesn't do much to offer the player with a sense of tension, something I believe is essential in all horror games. I like to feel as if I could be in danger at any second, but all this game has to offer in terms of danger are those monsters that are easily killed by a flashlight, the strange Viking dude, and leaves. Now I'll give the game this. The people in the movie went insane because they kept going around in circles, which is accurate because there's a part in the game where I kept going in circles and I went f***ing insane. Then I realized that the camera led me where to go, and you know what? Just hit me with it. The game is also really short, taking me about 5 hours to complete, but it's short because the game encourages you to play it again to get all 4 different endings. I just looked up the other endings, they're really not that different from each other. The last 30 minutes or so of this game are set in the Blair Witch house, but rather than it being a house, it turns into a giant maze filled with that monster I was talking about, and a bunch of hallucinations reminding our protagonist why he's such a horrible person. This section drags on for way too long, and hammers the point way too far in our skull that he's a war veteran who got his squad killed. Also, people are standing in corners. Because, you know, Blair Witch. In case you couldn't tell, I'm just not a huge fan of this game in general. The horror elements are hardly there, the gameplay is sluggish, and there really isn't enough incentive to play it multiple times. I'm glad I played it on Game Pass, because I couldn't imagine spending $30 on it. At least it was $30. It's not a bad game per se, but it's definitely a forgettable one. If there is any game that feels like a solid 6 out of 10, it's gotta be Blair Witch. Well, the power should be on back at my place. Guess I should be heading back. Oh god. Is that her? Is it the Blair Witch? Oh, thank god. It's just a bear. Shit. Thank you guys so much for watching this new episode here on FerrisWheelPro. Special thanks goes to my Patreon supporters, Justice to Free, Stephanie Ferris, and Smash JT. You guys are awesome, and if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to know when I upload another one. In the meantime, you've been watching FerrisWheelPro, and I'll see you on the next ride.